The Twitter Files, Clandestine Government Agency Edition. Um, been proved now. It's been proven with people like me, researchers like myself, and quote unquote conspiracy theorists been saying for a long, long time now that social media has been infiltrated, if not started, by these so-called clandestine government agencies. Um, and we have the receipts now. We have the proof showing that they infiltrated these social media giants, these big tech companies, to try to sway us, to feed us with propaganda, and they are the purveyors of misinformation and disinformation. Because when someone comes out with truth, they come out and attack us and call us conspiracy theorists and push and call and say we're the ones peddling this information. But one thing that shows us, like the Hunter Biden stuff, it shows us that when we're on target, when we have the truth, then they will be attacked and censored. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's a link to my Instagram and my merch store where I have "I Will Not Comply" t-shirts. So check those out as well. All right, let's talk about the news. After writing quite the pre-Christmas reflection on Friday night, journalist Matt Taibbi has decided to grace us with the Christmas Eve edition of the Twitter Files, which he says details, quote, Twitter's relationship to other government agencies, including some that don't like to see their name in print much. And then the entities, the CIAs, and some entities that we don't even know the names of, is what he's referring to. Y'all can, and Merry Christmas to y'all out there. Y'all see I got my Christmas tie on for Christmas Eve. So let's get into this. Let's get into this thread. Um, it didn't refute allegations. Instead, oh hold on, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, he called it Twitter and other government agencies. All right, so it didn't refute allegations. Instead, it decried conspiracy theorists publishing misinformation and whose sole aim is to discredit the agency. And you know the term conspiracy theorist. That's the term they throw at you when you start learning the truth and speaking the truth. They hit you with that label. They use it as a pejorative. Um, but he goes on to say they must think us unambitious if our sole aim is to discredit the FBI, and that's true. Who cares really? It's not about discrediting the FBI. It's shining a light on the corruption, and that's what they don't want. But after all, a whole range of government agencies discredit themselves in the Twitter files. Why stop with one? That's a great point. The files show the FBI acting as doorman to a vast program of social media surveillance and censorship encompassing agencies across the federal government, from the State Department to the Pentagon to the CIA. And it makes you wonder, so if they care about, they doing all this investigation and propaganda and all this stuff on normal average American citizens, when does anything else get done? This shows why is this so much human trafficking and real stuff like that, tangible stuff like that that needs to be stomped out. They're not worried about. They're more worried about what you say, what you tweet about. Um, but the operation is far bigger than the reported 80 members of the Foreign Influence Task Force, FITF, which also facilitates requests from a wide array of smaller actors, from local cops to media to state governments. Twitter has so much contact with so many agencies that executives lost track. Wow. Is today the DOD and tomorrow the FBI. It is the weekly call or the monthly meeting. It was dizzying. Sorry. A chief end result was that thousands of official reports flowed to Twitter from all over through the FITF and the FBI San Francisco field office. On June 29th, 2020, San Francisco FBI agent Elvis Chan wrote to pair of Twitter. I guess there's a typo here. Wrote to a pair of Twitter execs asking if he could invite an OGA to an upcoming conference. OGA, or other government organization, can be a euphemism for CIA, according to multiple former intelligence officials and contractors. So they're talking about the CIA here, the spooks, which, mind you, they're not even supposed to be working within our country. The CIA is supposed to supposed to be worrying about foreign entities, not American citizens, mind you. Chuckles one quote, they think it's mischievous, but it's just conspicuous. Other government agency, the place where I worked for 27 years, says retired CIA officer Ray McGovern. It was an open secret at Twitter that one of its executives was ex-CIA, which is why Chan referred to that executive's former employer. So they're talking about the CIA basically, but the thing is, you're never really an ex-CIA. You're never really ex-CIA. You're always in the CIA. Even if you're retired, they can always call you back up and bring you in and stuff like that. So you're never really ex-CIA. But that first Twitter executive abandoned any pretense to stealth and email that the employee used to work for the CIA. So that is Elvis's question. Senior legal executive Stacia Cordill, whose alertness stood out among Twitter leaders, replied, quote, I know, and I thought my silence was understood. Cardilli then passes on conference details to recently hired ex-FBA lawyer Jim Baker. You know the name. Jim Baker comes up a lot in this. Quote, I invited the FBI and the CIA virtually. Will attend too, Cardill says to Baker, adding pointedly, no need for you to attend. The government was in constant contact, not just with Twitter, but with virtually every major tech firm. And we know that. This because Mark Zuckerberg even alluded to that before. But these included Facebook, Microsoft, Verizon, Reddit, and even Pinterest, and many others. Industry players also held regular meetings without government. One of the most common forums was a regular meeting in the multi-agency foreign influence task force, attended by spates of executives, FBI personnel, and nearly always one or two attendees marked OGA. Again, OGA, that's another term they use for the CIA. The FITF meeting agendas virtually always included at or near the beginning an OGA briefing, usually about foreign matters. So hold that thought, he says. Despite its official remit being foreign influence, the FITF and the that's San Francisco FBI office, became conduit for mountains of domestic moderation requests from state governments, even local police. Wow. So even the local police is in on this. Many requests arrived via teleporter, a one-way platform in which many communicates were timed to vanish. And we talked about teleporter before, but the vanishing part is something new to me. I didn't know that they use this communication because the information vanishes after a while. That is interesting. So what do they need? Why do they need to have something where the information is deleted after it's viewed? And mind you, government are supposed to supposed to hold on to information like this. They're not supposed to be deleting stuff, so people can go back and view these things. So that's illegal within itself. So I'm gonna do some research into that to see what's the deal with teleporter. But he goes on to say, especially as the election approached in 2020, the FITF FBI overwhelmed Twitter with requests, sending lists of hundreds of problem accounts. Email after email came from the San Francisco office heading into the election, often adorned with an Excel attachment. There were so many government requests. Twitter employees had to improvise a system for prioritizing triaging them. Wow, the FBI was clearly tailoring searches to Twitter's policies. FBI complaints were almost always depicted somewhere as a possible term of service violation, even in the subject line. This is crazy that they're doing this. Like the FBI don't have anything else better to do. Like you don't have no terrorists to go after. You don't have any. I mean, really though, Twitter executives noticed the FBI appeared to be assigning personnel to look for Twitter violations. Quote, they have some folks in the Baltimore field office and at HQ that are just doing keyword searches for violations. This is probably the 10th request I have dealt with in the last 5 days, remarked Cardell. Even ex FBI lawyer Jim Baker agreed. Odd that they are searching for violations of our policies. Even Jim Baker thought it was weird. The New York FBI office even sent requests for the quote user IDs and handles of a long list of accounts named in the Daily Beast article. Senior executives say they were quote supportive and completely comfortable doing so. It seemed to strike no one as strange that a foreign influence task force was forwarding thousands of mostly domestic reports along with the DHS about the fringiest material. And that's a great point there. So other countries were soliciting Twitter to take down Americans' speech. Let that sink in. Foreign countries was coming in and meddling and taking away your free speech. It goes on. Foreign meddling has been the ostensible justification for expanded moderation since platforms like Twitter were dragged to the hill by the Senate in 2017. Yet behind the scenes, Twitter executives struggled against government claims of foreign interference supposedly occurring on their platform and others. The Twitter files show execs under constant pressure to validate theories of foreign influence and unable to find evidence for key assertions. Think about they say Russian meddling and all this other stuff. Found no links to Russia, says an analyst, but suggests he could brainstorm to find a stronger connection. So they couldn't find it. So I guess it looks like they want to try to manufacture something that's not there. Extremely tenuous circumstantial chance of being related, says another. No real matches using the info, says former trust and safety chief Yoel Roth in another case, noting some links were clearly Russian, but another was a house rental in South Carolina. In another case, Roth concluded a series of Venezuelan pro-Maduro accounts are unrelated to Russia's Internet Research Agency because they're too high volume. The Venezuelans, quote, were extremely high volume tweeters, pretty uncharacteristic of a lot of the other IRA activity, Roth says. In a key email news that the State Department was making a wobbly public assertion of Russian influence led an exec, the same one with OGA pass, so aka CIA pass, to make a damning admission. Quote, due to a lack of technical evidence on our end, I've generally left it be. Waiting for more evidence, he says. Our window on that is closing, given that government partners are becoming more aggressive and attribution. So the governments are like, hey, we need it. We need to show Russian influence here. We need to show. So they wanted to make something there when there was nothing there. No there. Translation, more aggressive government partners had closed Twitter's window of independence. Closed Twitter's window of independence. Other government agencies ended up sharing intelligence through the FBI and the FITF, not just Twitter, but with Yahoo, Twitch, Cloudflare, LinkedIn, even Wikimedia. This is wild. So every big tech entity you can think of, we had FBI and CIA in there. Former CIA agent and whistleblower John Kuroku believes he recognizes the formatting of these reports. Quote, looks right on to me, Kuroku says, noting that Quote, what was cut off above the tier line was the originating CIA office and all the copied offices. I mean, get that, let that sink in. The CIA was literally working in domestic stuff that they're not supposed to. Oh my gosh, this is crazy and it's illegal, blatantly illegal. Many people wonder if internet platforms receive direction from intelligence agencies about moderation of foreign policy news stories. It appears Twitter did, in some cases, by way of the FITF FBI. These reports are far more factually controversial than domestic counterparts. One intel report lists accounts tied to, quote, Ukraine neo Nazi propaganda. This includes assertions that Joe Biden helped orchestrate a coup in 2014 and put his son on the board of Burisma. All facts, though. We know this to be true. We know this to be true. Another report asserts a list of accounts accusing Biden administration of, quote, corruption and vaccine distribution are part of a Russian influence campaign. Often intelligence came in the form of brief reports followed by long lists of accounts simply deemed to be pro Maduro, pro Cuba, pro Russia, etc. This one batch had over 1,000 accounts marked for digital execution. Wild, wild, wild. So they show a picture of that. It's tons of accounts. One report says a site documenting purported rights abuses committed by Ukrainians is directed by Russian agents. Intel about the shady origins of these accounts might be true, but so might at least some of the information in them about neo Nazis, rights abuses in Donbass, even about our own government. Should we block such material? And I would say absolutely not. Information is information. Just because you don't like it, I mean, Russia. Just because it came from Russia, don't make it not true. You know what I'm saying? This is a difficult speech dilemma. Should the government be allowed to try to prevent Americans and others from seeing pro Maduro or anti Ukrainian accounts? Often, intel reports are just long lists of newspapers, tweets, or YouTube videos guilty of anti Ukraine narratives. Sometimes, not always, Twitter and YouTube block the accounts, but now we know for sure that Roth meant by the Bureau and extension the IC's intelligence community. The line between misinformation and distorting propaganda is thin. Are we comfortable with so many companies receiving so many reports from a more aggressive government? The CIA has yet to comment on the nature of the relationship to tech companies like Twitter. They need to. They need to come out and say something because they know what they're doing is illegal. So that's why they're not speaking on it. Twitter had no input into anything I did or wrote. The searches were carried out by third parties, so what I saw could be limited. That's what Matt Taibbi said. He goes on to say, watch Barry Weiss, Schellenberger, Ifang, and this space for more on issues ranging from Stupid 19 to Twitter's relationship to Congress and more. And I'm particularly looking interested into finding out what did the government prevent us from talking about on Stupid 19. You know, it's a lot. Look at YouTube. Y'all know what happened to my other channel on YouTube for me speaking out against it. They put a squash to any talks that was off, that was away from the party line. They would delete you. They would censor you. And so I can't wait for the information to come out on that. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out themarketpublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace. Oh, say, oh, say.